So it's 2025, man, and you're just getting into the adult world and you're just trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, or you feels like everything has changed from what your parents told you. I'm sure a lot of y'all could relate to this, and I can too, because I remember being lied to the same thing as well. And today, guys, I want to talk to y'all about why life feels a lot harder than it ever has before. Besides being an adult, life really does feel like a whole obstacle in many ways when you're trying to figure things out, because there's sometimes, man, that when you're first trying to figure your shit out, that you have to jump through a million hoops, and it's even worse when like the goalpost like changes every time because the game has changed. There's a lot of many ways the game has changed. Like everything has changed with the amount of income you get, or the ability to even learn some different types of skills or get experience. Because I do remember not that long ago, a lot of people were just thriving off just working a basic fast food job or something, and also other things too, like being able to get a proper education for a reasonable price where you could work a lot of hours just to get that college degree paid off without any help from parents. Now, don't get me wrong, y'all. Like, there's a lot of opportunity out here, but the problem with the opportunity is that no one really tells you what there are out there besides, like, the basic information that is told by everybody else and society. The only thing society tells you is if you want to get that value information, you either got to go to college or learn the skill on your own. And what's crazy to me is after not going to college and everything from my direction in life, I've learned is that I do better learning on my own information, and the amount passion and work effort was actually better than like people do learning that shit in college. And it's crazy too because in college they do teach you the basics of learning things like video editing software and whatnot, but there's a lot of other obstacles too by taking electives and other things too that makes people really frustrated, especially gen eds, man. And a lot of people in college have to take unnecessary gen eds that's not even related to the shit they even want to do in the first place. Now, the game has also changed with like courses like YouTube influencers being on the rise, content creators getting careers off of just basically their passions with YouTube and content creation. And the crazy thing is that no one really has a clean, proper answer of how to grow on YouTube, except for the higher ups that really know how to do it. But you know how it is. Most people are not going to realistically give that information transparently all the time. Like, what works for them may not always work for your type of videos and content because everything they make is very unique and subjective. It's basically like how life is in general, where everybody's life is literally unique and different and not always the same. There can be some routines where some people go to the routine life paths, but everyone in general with life is not always going to be on the same page. Another way the game has changed too is that nowadays when it comes to jobs, what's crazy is there's a lot of jobs where it doesn't even require an interview to get them. And what I mean by that is that like there's some jobs out there nowadays where they don't give a fuck at all. Like that professionalism persona is like gone, right? Like my job warehouse at Amazon, right? They don't have any type of interviews. You just apply on the website and go. And other things with temp agencies too, like this app I have called InstaWork where you also book and go. As long as you have the experience on your resume, it's really not that big of a deal. And the craziest thing too is that you can get proper experience doing shit like this than like trying to do like, find a degree to get that experience or to show proof that you learned that instead of get experience. And that's another thing too that people don't tell you about college is a lot of people in college, like they do get the experience, but a lot of people, play the, oh, you got to get experience in order to get that job. And that's kind of frustrating too, because you're supposed to get it through college. And that's why internships are such a big deal. The good thing is with some internships, some of them are now really paid. Some of them are still unpaid, but the good thing is that at least you can get that proper experience, because if you don't get those proper experience through internships, you're going to be in a fucking mess and pickle. Another way the game has also changed too is that like people are more stressed more than ever when it comes to just trying to afford an apartment. The cost of apartment living was supposed to be an alternative living style to straight up just, get something with a decent price to try to save money and do something else, right? But nowadays, a lot of these landlords got greedy and now they're profiting off of people more than ever by just simply raising the prices every single year. What's crazy about my apartment is that my apartment went from like $850 when I first moved in to like 3 to 4 years later has went up to almost $1,300 after all convenience fees and everything, and you're not even including the utility bills. Basically, in today's society, too, is that the wages have stayed the same from pre COVID, and everything else has also gone up, which makes things a lot more difficult as well. And it's really sad, man, because you think that life would get better by raising the wages for a lot of workers, but unfortunately, you have to really find ways to make more money, and they're not going to tell you. Unfortunately, in order to get through life the way you want it to through this horrible economy, is that you have to constantly keep learning and finding new things that stick or don't stick. And a lot of the times, bro, I will say, a lot of things are not going to stick right away immediately. I remember when I was first learning how to make YouTube videos and stuff when I was younger, I wanted to start early so I could have a better life, and I'm kind of glad I did, because it took almost 9 to 10 years to figure out exactly what does work and what people want to watch and what doesn't, while trying to maintain that passion behind it. Because no one wants to make content or videos where there's no fucking passion behind it, because at the end of the day, it's just going to feel like another job at that point. The game has also changed with the housing market too. Like, housing markets used to be reasonable and realistic for people to just to buy so they could fix it up and try to own it, right? But nowadays, when people try to buy a house, it's either they don't get the house because some rich guy is buying it and then flipping them for extra money for people to rent them, or it's just straight up that unrealistic expectation because, everything has gone up in the housing market, that your house that you wanted for like $90,000 is now going to be like $500,000. And it's an absurd, because nowadays, when it comes to the housing market too, that most people want to get more money, but they just realistically can't without being told a different route to get that money. The biggest thing I did learn about our generation or about our world is that technology is advancing very rapidly, and I think we should learn something outside the box. Like, there's a lot of people learning AI, and honestly, I think more people should take advantage of that, because AI, even though may not be a good beneficial thing to society, if you want to make a lot of money, there's a lot of people learning how to train AI and do all these things, and that's just something I ain't going to tell you right on the fly or college until probably it's way too late or it's popular. Another big thing that's slowly changing too is that everyone is slowly trying to adjust a society where there's no longer going to be a lot of cash. And that's scary, and no one really has the true answer to how we're going to adjust to that, because there's a good possibility that we may no longer have a private way of saving money without the government or people getting involved, So that's another thing why life feels a lot harder too, is because, they're making things tougher for me to do basic human things in general. The biggest thing too in our adult lives when it comes to life being harder is that the responsibility is no longer the rewarding the amount of effort you put into. The amount of responsibility is overbearing, but the amount of effort is a lot while you're getting barely anything in return too. That's another reason why a lot of people feel overwhelmed. They feel like life is just not going to get better and all this type of shit too. Because the world and economy is just slowly crumbling in a way where we've never really seen it, where people are just, feel like they're not going to have a good life in the future too. The biggest game shifter too with our whole generation is that a lot of people nowadays don't want that traditional lifestyle as well. A lot of people are having kids less and less, and they prefer to do other things with their life, or they want something more than just the basic, traditional lifestyle like the American dream tries to sell us to be. And honestly, with the American dream, you have to be asleep to believe it. And I do think that the American dream itself has also fucking changed too. Aside from millennials, I feel like millennials and Gen Z are the first two generations where they kind of made public information given out to everybody for other people to see. And we are also the first generations to kind of give out our data to corporations through apps just to sell data through others without us knowing too. And they take advantage of that as well. And that's what another thing that's made the world change so much, is that most people are getting taken advantage of by just all of us willing to give up our information about our private lives. Our lives are slowly becoming less private and more into the corporation's business, unfortunately. And most people don't even realize it. I really do believe that smartphones and our social media is the reason why people are pushing AI, and they're making AI do some crazy things to try to control people and what they do for our public lives as well when it comes to the internet. The best thing to kind of go about this, if you want more of your privacy back, is turn the internet off, unfortunately, because even myself has given out some public information to the internet willingly, And, the government will definitely take advantage of that. And it's not just the government either. It's also other people that may be dangerous that are also willing to do this to you in a way where, other people may not even realize. The sad reality about the whole game, too, is that, we have to play the hard game to really get what we want in our life in terms of, being more independent and not be relying on a lot of these corporations as often. Being a lot more creative and doing different things and selling things with expression and love is a lot better than just, relying on a corporation that we believe that cares about us, but in reality they don't. The most transparent thing I can tell y'all when it comes to work is that, try to take the skills that you learned that are valuable and try to take that on a more flexible entrepreneur schedule, like freelancing or doing something where you could do something for somebody else. Like if you're doing graphic design, sell your art if possible, or start your own little business by going on websites like redbubble.com or just anything specific. Another example is if you're a hard labor and you do painting or something, the best bet is try to find something with freelance on painting to help people, do a task for somebody else. Because most of the time, they'll be willing to pay a bit more money through somebody than a corporation, I've noticed too. Because, there's a lot of people who need help. The most money I've ever did make in one day before when I was a teenager was not actually working a job or a corporation, right? I was actually making a website for a buddy of mine that actually needed the help at the time. It was just a basic old school website. He didn't care what it was as long as it's just a website. That's all that mattered. He gave me $250. Now I ain't gonna lie, on that day I bought a gaming PC, and yeah, $250 as a teenager for one day was huge. The most money I've ever made that was not a teenager was $96 a day, making $9.50 an hour at a grocery store. Just kind of think that in perspective a little bit, man. More people profit off more independent type work through their knowledge or just something they like doing. Now, the discipline is the hardest part, but man, it is the best solution for a lot of people for this new game of life. And there's people in life where they don't want to do any of that too. And I will say that's completely fine. If you do want to work an average labor skilled job of some kind, bro, just definitely find a job like a warehouse gig or something that's willing to give you that flexibility where you can pick up shifts. Or dude, there's even work gig stuff that will let you do that as well. You gotta look really hard though. For me, I got very lucky. You might have to job hop a little bit just to fucking find it, because there's probably other companies that are hidden between the lines too that nobody tells you about. Because for me, no one told me about the flexible schedules at my Amazon job where I could just work on my own terms like an entrepreneur and then pursue something I really like doing. It's kind of fucking crazy that anything like that is even possible. And the last thing I do think why life feels a lot harder too is that we're a lot more smarter than we were in the past than kids. When we were kids, we didn't really have any type of knowledge of what's going on around the world. A lot of us, some of us didn't even care that much, but a lot of us really just did not have that knowledge. Sometimes ignorance is bliss sometimes, and there's a reason why some people who are very ignorant as an adult are a bit happier, because people are just simply naive. When we get older, a lot of us get way less naive about things, and unfortunately, it is a hard reality and it makes life feel a lot harder because of it. In reality, life has always been hard. Think of the 2008 recession for the house market crashes and shit. None of us knew what the fuck that was as kids, but now we kind of look back and damn, maybe things weren't always rainbows and butterflies. Anyways, everybody, that's all I gotta say about life being really hard. What are your guys' thoughts about the whole situation? Do you guys have any hardships when you're younger, or do you guys always believe that life was generally easier? I do believe that life was a little bit easier with cheaper wages and shit, but at the same time, wages were lower. But I will say is things were a little bit more realistic, but we still had to be willing to do the hardest things in order to get that type of money success if we do things the most traditional and honest way. If you gotten this far in the video, I hope I helped some of y'all out, because some of you might need some help, and it's okay to get help. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I'll see y'all in the next video. Y'all take care and good luck to y'all.